Out in the woods, you've seen them, those stones. Nothing grows on them, the grass stays short, and the birds keep quiet when they fly over. Even though the trees bend away, no sun shines on them, and they're always cold as ice. Late in the night, you can see a mist slipping off them across the grass. You know what those rocks are? I was young, younger than you, when a friend and I got the bright idea to go out and Sam Hain instead of crossing the rocks, as far away as we could while still keeping an eye on it, just to scare ourselves silly. I told old Ruth, John's great-grandmother, about it, and she went white, told us to stay inside and play apples with the other kids. And she told my dad, who decided it'd be best to just lock me away for the night. Now my friend, he decided to go without me since he was smart enough not to tell his fucking granny about it. That night, I woke up to something banging on my window. I figured it was just a storm, so my brother and I lived down the second story. When I looked over and saw my brother had gone white and was shaking himself out of the bed, his eyes locked on the window across the room. I looked over, and I'll kill you if you call me a liar. There was my friend's face outside. But it was all wrong, you see. He looked cold and wet. His skin seemed to be folding in the wrong places, and even though I could see his mouth moving, not a noise was being made other than his hands slapping on the panes. Even though I couldn't hear him, I knew what he wanted. He wanted me to open that damn window. I ain't a fool, and neither was my brother, but we weren't brave enough either, so the two of us just sat there while my friend got more and more frantic, his face getting more and more warped until it was twisted like a demon, his eyebrows all pulled up and his lips curled back to show his teeth. Then he was gone as fast as he showed up. My father came upstairs to see what the hell was going on, if I was trying to get out of the window, and we told him what we saw. The old man got a good laugh of it, but when we told little Ruth the next day, she sat me down. Those rocks, she said, are put there as meeting stones for the dead. Not the good dead either, but the dead things that aren't human. Dead things that never got the chance to live. So twisted and broken where no body can carry them for long. So they're forced to live in that stone. And mark me dead if they don't find Tom's body limp as a sack on that stone before nightfall. And that's where they found him, stretched over that old stone and twisted like a wreck. That's why you and your sis stay away from them stones, John. Stay away from those damn stones. It's been 2 weeks since this whole thing started. It all started with a tanker accident. It was all over the news. Everyone thought it was just another oil spill, and there were plenty of volunteers, plenty of people wanting to help the poor defenseless animals. Plenty of victims. Within hours of the tanker accident, it started happening. The animals had gone crazy. They were scratching and biting the cleanup volunteers. They said it was an adverse effect to whatever was in that tanker. Rescue workers were still trying to get the crew out of the ship. They could hear screaming inside. There were screams to open the doors, but that's when it all went to hell, as soon as they cut the door out. There was 6 minutes of broadcast before it went silent, 6 minutes of screaming agony. The ship crew attacked the rescue workers like rabid baboons. They were breaking bones, tearing flesh. The people on the shore weren't faring any better. Those that had been attacked by animals were attacking everyone else. It was worse than any war zone report. It was sheer brutality, and yet the broadcast still went on for 6 minutes. There was 6 minutes, and then blank faces. Nobody could explain what was happening. They tried to continue with the regular news, the economy, the weather, a cute human interest story, but they couldn't make us unsee what we saw. I tried to continue with my regular existence, but every time I switched on the news or walked by a newsstand, it was there, this big mystery. They had some explanations. It was an infection or brain parasites, but it didn't matter. It wasn't the infection we were afraid of. It was them. 4 days after the initial report, a state of emergency was raised. And yet we've all seen this before. It's in every zombie movie ever. People don't know who to trust. People are stockpiling food, weapons. Some try to flee, but it seems every zombie movie was right. They don't make it. 3 days later, they arrived in my town. I expected moans, shuffling corpses, dismemberment, but that's where the movies lied. They ran through the streets, screaming. I remember running to my front door as fast as I could, locking, barricading, and doing everything I could to make sure it would stay shut, and then I headed for the window. I was on the second story, and I could see the carnage. They were unstoppable. They were aware. A group of them made their way through a building across the street. They jumped straight through the plate glass windows. Even the shards slicing through them made no difference. They just kept coming. Even the shards slicing through them made no difference. They just kept coming. My barricade wasn't gonna hold. I rushed around my flat, grabbing supplies, jamming them in the most secure room in the flat. I went back for one last look across the street, and I wish I hadn't. In a second-story window, my face met one of theirs. They knew where I was. I quickly dashed into their room, locking the door. I don't have any kind of panic room or a secure basement, so the safest place I could think of was my bathroom. There were no windows and only one door, and it had a lock. I had filled my sink and bathtub full of water so I could stay for a while, and I sat there in the dark room with the distant screams in my ears. I began to feel like I may have overreacted. It'd been 2 hours and there was no sign of them. It actually got quieter, and I thought maybe they had moved on. Maybe I could leave the room and go to the kitchen. I could grab some more food to wait it out. A crash came through the front door. There was the sound of someone running full force in the door, knocking down the barrier behind it. There were a couple more crashes. Before I knew it, they were inside. There were rapid footsteps moving around the flat, a couple of screams, and then a bang on the wall beside me. My eyes were open to their widest, even in the pitch-black darkness of the room. There was another bang, and then another. They knew I was here, and they knew I was scared. This was the zombie nightmare I had been expecting from the start, and I had nowhere to run. There was only so much time before they would break in. I sat with my back to the door, hoping my extra weight would make it harder for them to get in. Then it got worse. "Why don't you just open the door?" There was a voice on the opposite side of the door. There were no screams or moans, just quiet, whispery voices. And then there was more of them. "We've come for you. You'll be happier if you open the door. It's not so bad." The whispers became a cacophony of noise trying to persuade me, to break me, to fool me. I had heard that the moaning zombies would drive people insane, but this was worse. It was a siren's call. I sat in the darkness and hoped that they'd get bored. But they don't get bored, and they don't leave. I managed to use the mirror to peek under the door, only to be greeted by horrible and blinking eyes, blood-smeared faces, screams, and more horrible whispers. That was 2 days ago. I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe it won't be so bad.